Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Becky Bronstein, and I'm the Resilience Fellowship Specialist with Washington Sea Grant. I'm excited to share a bit about Washington Sea Grant Fellowships with a particular focus on the Coastal Resilience Fellowship. So, for our time together, we'll start off learning a bit more about Washington Sea Grant. Then we'll dive in specifically about the Coastal Resilience Fellowship, and then I'll stop recording when we get to the Q&A. To start about Washington Sea Grant, we are all about envisioning healthy, productive, and resilient coastal and marine ecosystems that sustain Washington's rich cultural and maritime heritage, vibrant coastal communities, clean waters and beaches, prosperous fisheries and aquaculture, diverse wildlife, and engaged public. So yes, really anything and everything that has to do with marine and coastal in Washington State. You can check out more of our values via the link in the chat. If you're watching this info session, you can go ahead to Washington Sea Grant, our website, and check out the values page. So Washington Sea Grant is one of 34 state programs throughout the U.S. and the U.S. territories. We're a part of a national network, all funded by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Sea Grant programs differ in their size and structure across the U.S. and territories. Many of them, but not all, are housed at universities. Washington Sea Grant is housed at the University of Washington, but we serve all of Washington with many partners across the state. We implement our NOAA funding at the state level in response to the needs of coastal communities and ecosystems. To do this, all Sea Grant programs support research, education, and community outreach and engagement. This all is aligned with our mission, all while also leveraging robust and creative communication strategies. We also do this by leveraging the expertise of people. So we have supported researchers and students investigating coastal and marine issues affecting Washington waters. We have a team of extension agents up and down the coast. We have a team of educators working with K-12 audiences. As mentioned, we have general and science communicators, as well as operations staff, and many, many partners in the state and the region, including local and state agencies, NGOs, tribes, private industry, and many academic partners. So to get into the various aspects of Washington Sea Grant, every other year, Washington Sea Grant puts out a biennial request for proposals in order to distribute around $2 million in grant funding for marine science and education research. We fund work by researchers from universities, nonprofits, tribes, and other groups in Washington State with the goal of advancing knowledge that helps people to sustainably use and enjoy marine resources. Our outreach and extension staff participate in research, social science. They're conveners of many types of consortiums and working groups, and they provide numerous types of adverse advisory services, including fishery conservation and bycatch reduction, Puget Sound water quality. They do ocean acidification work, work with invasive species like European green crab, marine safety, tsunamis, and much more. Our communications team uses print, digital, and social media platforms to distribute tons of information to diverse audiences around the state. We have education programs. We have Orca Bowl, which is a regional high school marine science knowledge competition that is part of the National Ocean Sciences Bowl. We have NOAA Science Camp, which is a summer camp for 11 to 13-year-olds that offer training in a range of skills reflecting broad ocean literacy principles. And we also develop curriculum for programs like the King Tides program. But what you all came here for, we also have fellowships. So this slide here is a snapshot of some of the host agency partners and fellowship alumni that really highlight the vibrant community behind our fellowship programs. This includes the many people and organizations who invest in, mentor, and help launch the next generation of coastal and ocean leaders. So we really see fellowships as a high-impact two-way exchange. Hosts gain fresh perspectives, added capacity, and the ability to test new ideas without long-term commitments, all with low administrative burden. where fellows, meanwhile, benefit from exceptional mentorship, access to decision makers, hands-on professional development, and a lifetime connection to the National Sea Grant Network, which all it has the shared goal of advancing coastal and ocean resilience. For those of you interested in the number side of things, over the past 5 years, 2020 to 2025, Washington Sea Grant Fellowship programs have awarded $4.3 million in support to 102 students and early career professionals. This was all made possible through partnerships with more than 50 tribal, state, federal, and nonprofit organizations. And during this period, 92% of our state program fellows moved directly into permanent positions post-fellowship. So now we'll transition to talking more specifically about the Coastal Resilience Fellowship. Washington Sea Grant currently administers 10 fellowship programs. 6 of them are state-based opportunities, and we also support 4 nationally competitive programs. As mentioned, we'll now transition over to the Coastal Resilience Fellowship. This slide is sharing the key characteristics of this fellowship. So we are a subawardee of Washington State's NOAA Climate Resilience Regional Challenge Award, or CRRC. We launched this fellowship last year in 2025. It is a 2-year fellowship with funding for 3 cycles at about 5 fellows per cohort, though this next cycle we will be offering fellowships to 6 fellows. Its focus is all around building capacity for coastal resilience projects with local organizations. This includes tribes, conservation districts, municipalities, economic development districts, and other local organizations working on coastal resilience. It is at no cost to host to participate, which is unique often for fellowship programs. This means we're able to welcome organizations that haven't been able to participate in fellowships before because of the financial investment. Like many of Washington Sea Grant's fellowships, this program is for emerging professionals, so those who are postgraduate or pivoting in their careers. And you may have noticed or heard that the first cohort of the fellowship, which began last year, focused geographically on Washington's Pacific coast, but this coming cycle, the 26-28 cycle, will be open for all coastal geographies in Washington. And you'll see that on this next slide because these are the hosts for the next cycle. So as mentioned, we are working with local organizations. At this time, state and federal entities are not eligible for the fellowship. However, we very much encourage state and federal organizations, agencies to work with these local hosts to support their efforts, whether that's from a programmatic project side or from a mentorship side for the fellow. So you'll see here that we have one nonprofit in the Coast Salmon Partnership based in Aberdeen, Washington. We have one economic development district, which is Evergreen Coast EDD. They serve Pacific and Mason counties. We have 3 tribes as part of this host cohort. They include the Lower Elwha Clallam tribe, Lummi Nation, and the Quileute tribe. And we have 1 port that's represented, and that's the Port of Bellingham. On the Coastal Resilience Fellowship website, we include position descriptions about each of these hosts and what they're looking for in terms of their fellowship position. We've also uploaded a presentation recording of those hosts. The goal of these presentations is really to get a sense of the organization, any key highlights of the fellowship. It's also a chance to give a face to the name for who the mentors are for a given host organization. Speaking of those position descriptions, we very much encourage you to take a look at them. They're pretty thorough documents. We've included on this slide a couple bullet points of the types of projects and skills that have been involved in the first cycle, the 25-27 cycle of the fellowship, and what we're anticipating are the types of project skills involved in this next cycle. You'll see things like community engagement and meeting facilitation, stakeholder engagement, grant writing and grant management, strategic project planning, vulnerability assessment development, action planning for community resilience and safety. And then also added here is natural resources related tasks, as some of these hosts are either part of or working closely with the Natural Resources Department. So now getting into the elements of the application and what that looks like. So first we want to talk about residents. So the Washington Sea Grant Coastal Resilience Fellowship is all about bringing people to live in or near the host organization so that they can really get integrated into the community, get to know those stakeholders that are there, get to know the partners in the region. So with that in mind, we have limited our residence eligibility to those who reside in the greater Sea Grant Pacific region, as listed here, or who have graduated from a high school, community college, technical college, or university in Washington State. However, in limited cases, we will make exceptions for those who don't meet this criteria, but who do demonstrate extensive professional, academic, or lived experience working with coastal communities in the Sea Grant Pacific region. So this should be clearly shared in the application. There is a text box that we include in this section where you can share any details you might want to. And then we would also look for this to come through in the rest of the application. Also, with eligibility, at minimum, the Coastal Resilience Fellowship requires an associate's degree. And again, we really encourage you to review the position descriptions on the Coastal Resilience Fellowship website, where you can see the specific education preferences, skills, experience preferences that the hosts have put forward, as each one is different. And then lastly, with eligibility, our team will also be thinking about your career stage. So the goal of the fellowship is really to support individuals seeking a catalyst for a career in the field of coastal resilience, as well as marine policy, coastal management, and so forth. So with that spirit, we're looking for individuals who have not yet had significant work experience in these fields, nor has already participated in a similar fellowship program. So the goal is really to find those candidates who, have some amount of skills and experience who can contribute meaningfully to the host, but aren't so far along in their career that, a permanent position would be a better fit for them. And with that in mind, who is encouraged to apply is those who have experience working in coastal regions and looking to contribute their skills, experience to those coastal communities. And we're also looking for applicants who are early on in their career or maybe pivoting their careers. DACA students are eligible to apply, and our fellowship programs do not consider personal identity factors in evaluation or selection. At the same time, we recognize that historic barriers have limited access for many communities. So our programs are committed to creating supportive and welcoming experiences that help all eligible applicants thrive, and we warmly encourage everyone to apply. And you can feel free to reach out to our team. You can reach out to me if you have any questions about that. All right, so as far as our application elements, you will submit your application through eSeaGrant, which is an online platform. You can access eSeaGrant through our website. We include instructions about creating an account. The application is due at 5 p.m. on April 29th. New this year is you are able to apply for multiple fellowships through one application. You can think of that as like a common app. We have three state fellowships, the Coastal Resilience Fellowship, the Hirschman Fellowship, and the Keystone Fellowship. They all require numbers 1 to 5 as listed here. So if you want to apply to one of those or all three, you would only have to fill out numbers 1 to 5 once. So you would upload a resume just once, personal statement once. You would request your reference forms, which we're saying here. If you could request those earlier on, we'd encourage it. I'll speak more to that in a moment. Transcripts and so forth, just once. The number 6 here is what's specific to that particular fellowship. So the Hirschman and Keystone have their own specific number 6. The Coastal Resilience Fellowship requires a position preference statement. So what we ask for in this one is you review those position descriptions and you submit a separate position preference statement for any of the host positions you'd be interested in matching with. In your statement, you'll share how you would benefit from the project and how your skills align with the host organization. We also encourage you to apply for as many positions as you want. You don't need to apply to more than one, but you're welcome to. If you do that, you must rank the positions in order of your preference. And the review panel will, in anticipation of a larger applicant pool, likely prioritize your first and second choice. So it does not necessarily behoove you to submit position preference statements for all 6 hosts, because the review panel will likely just prioritize your top 2 to 3 anyway. And if you just submit one, that's also okay. It doesn't make you any more likely to move forward. The review panel is looking for that alignment of skills and experiences and opportunity for the candidate rather than number of statements that have been submitted. So speaking of the review panel, things they'll be looking for. So I'll speak a little bit to each of these bullet points. The review panel will look for the applicant's career pathway. So how the fellowship would support the applicant's career pathway and further their development as a professional. So in other words, how the fellowship could benefit you. So what is that opportunity? What's that potential? What's that catalyst? Second, the review panel will look at the applicant's contributions to the host organization. So, how the applicant's experience will support coastal communities. In other words, how could you benefit the host? So, the first one's how the fellowship could benefit you. Second one is how you could benefit the host. The third is around inclusive engagement practices. We are looking for the applicant to demonstrate interest in working with individuals from a wide range of backgrounds, perspectives, or experiences, and show a commitment to fostering inclusive, respectful, and collaborative environments. This should come through in your personal statement. I might also suggest that this should come through in your position preference statement. We're looking for strong communication skills. In the case of an application, this should come through as written skills. This is especially applicable if a given position asks for strong writing skills, like grant writing skills. And with this one, we also want to say we're also understanding that a fellowship can help a fellow's writing skills. You might, pursue writing professional development. So we're looking for clarity and, consistency. We're looking for no typos and grammatical errors, those sort of things, rather than like fantastic prose. It's better to be clear, concise, and not have errors, than have like a beautifully written statement. Position preference statement, is that second to last bullet point there, that we're looking for that alignment with the host position description. And then lastly, reference forms. So how this will work is we'd encourage you, once you start your application, go ahead and jump to the reference section. You'll simply input 2 references, their contact information. They will then receive an email. They will have instructions to download a form. It's pretty simple, a simple form that they'll fill out about you, things like your strengths, areas of improvement, your potential as a Sea Grant Fellow. They will upload that form back to eSea Grant, and there's nothing else for you to do. So we'd encourage you to, if you want to send any documents or information along to your referees so they know about the fellowship, share your resume if you like. There's space to do that within that contact, but then it's on your referee to upload the form. You are able to track the status of that upload. We'd encourage you to check in with your referee to make sure that it gets in time by April 29th. And please note that we are not accepting letters, and this is for consistency's sake across all of our applications. So we prefer that the referee uploads the reference form, not a letter. So let's speak to the award. So if selected as a Coastal Resilience Fellow, the first year of the fellowship is a $75,000 stipend, which covers living expenses, required healthcare coverage in accordance with federal law, and tax-related expenses. The second year, the stipend goes up by $3,000, and each year, the fellow receives a $5,000 professional development budget, which is administered by Washington Sea Grant. So we will be the ones holding on to those funds and supporting you to figure out your budget and find trainings, online courses, conferences, and related travel expenses that come with all of those things. The PD is a really important piece of a fellowship. The difference being not a permanent position with your host organization, you do have a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more creativity to explore various professional development opportunities. This could look like, a couple hours a week. We might also think about a couple days a month that go towards professional development. And we're almost there. Last slide here is our key dates. So April 1st, the application has opened. It will close on April 29th. May 18th to 20th will be one-way virtual interviews. We are using an online platform where applicants will receive an email with information about that one-way interview. They'll have several days to upload in response to several questions. It's a pretty savvy platform. If you are selected for that, you'll receive a lot more information. But the goal is not for, say, a super polished recorded set of responses, but more just a sense for the review panel to learn from the candidates and hear in their own words how they might respond to various questions regarding the fellowship. June 18th, as well as 22nd to 25th, is when the final virtual interviews with hosts would take place. These dates are pretty solidified. It took a bit of calendar Olympics to get hosts to solidify a day and make space on their calendars. So if you're interested in moving forward with this fellowship, we'd encourage you to hold those days in case you move forward as a finalist. Shortly after the final interviews, the fellowships team at Washington Sea Grant will make the final selections, and we hope to notify candidates as soon as possible, sometime in late June. That then means the summer is all about hiring. There's some amount of loose connection with the host, just checking in and make sure everyone has what everyone needs. And then the fellowship would begin September 16th. Something to keep in mind in the fall at some point, dates still to be determined as we're collaborating with our partners at the University of Washington Climate Impacts Group. There will be a required in-person orientation and learning institute. All the hosts are aware of this and will make space and time for it. And ideally, all fellows will be able to attend. It's a chance for foundational learning around various principles that are supportive for fellowships, as well as a chance for camaraderie and cohort building. And those dates will be shared on the website once they are solidified, also shared with candidates along the selection process. All right, so with that, I'll pause on this slide a moment in case you'd like to grab my email. This is also on the website. And I will go ahead and stop the recording and open it up for questions. Thank you so much.